My name is Jackson. This is my 2000 Toyota Mark II JZX100. It started life as a NA Auto Tourer S trim, and it's had the full swap over from a Tourer V. So the turbo JZ motor, the R154 transmission, and a Torsen LSD. It's really fun to burn rubber. It's really fun to do skids in this car. It's also scary because of how much they cost and how valuable the car has become in the 2 years that I've owned it. So yeah, I'll be honest, it's a little bit scary sliding a car that you could get a lot of money back out of, but not if you crash it.
All right, you guys, welcome back to the show. We have a very special car for you today. This is my first time driving a Toyota Mark II. I'm already so confused. I'm here looking at the dash. I'm like, well, first off, this was originally an automatic NA Mark II that was converted in Japan. The entire swap was done, so it does have the R154 5-speed and of course a single turbo 1JZ GTE under the hood. I've driven a few Chasers before. They're really fun to drive. Definitely one of the JDM cars right now that is just shooting up in value. You can hardly find them for under $20,000. So I've been messaging Jackson. We shot his Mitsubishi Legnum VR4 a few years back. And what do you know? He has a Mark II and he loves it, and he's been sliding it around. I've always kind of been confused when you look back at Toyota's history in the 90s and what they were building and all of the different models they were building, all of the different front engine, rear drive models, the sheer amount of engines that were put into all these different cars. Yet the chassis, like the JZX100 chassis, is the same regardless of whether it's a Chaser, Cresta, or a Mark II. And they all kind of look very similar. So, oh, minimal rubbing actually. I thought that bump was gonna do more. And so at first you're like, okay, why are there so many? Toyota, why were you making like so many of these chassis? But here we are now in 2021, and everybody in the drift community is just like, well, thank God. Thank you, Toyota, for having the foresight to literally like specifically cater each of these models to such a specific niche in the market. So the Cresta is kind of more the luxury version. So it has the full window frames here, where this is a frameless door. And the Chaser is the same. The Chaser is more of the sports sedan, kind of hardcore driver sedan, and more of those came in manual, whereas this is somewhere in the middle. So you look at the three models side by side, especially, regardless of the Cresta, especially just looking at the Mark II and the Chaser, you're like, well, it really just comes down to personal preference and your driving style.
So yeah, when I started looking at these, I was kind of, I actually started off considering Laurels and JZX100s, and after sort of, keeping tabs on the market and started, putting some time and more research into what the cars are all about, I got to put my butt in a couple passenger seats. I decided that the JZX was more my style, and I started off looking for a Chaser, but after just looking at so many cars, the Mark II design started to fall into favor with me. And so I think I spent about 2 or 3 months with Patrick Wu, who has also brought his Chaser and Laurel on the channel. He helped me import the car. and we managed to find a 4B auction grade car for me to get, and yeah, it turned out really well. There's pretty much always something wrong with every auction car that comes through, whether that be, you know, paint chipping but a really nice interior, an immaculately cared for engine, or, you know, regardless of how nice the car is, there's always one aspect that's a little bit lagging behind. And so after months of like getting my hopes up and thinking like, oh, this is going to be the one, only to get under hood pictures and see that the strut towers have like holes chopped through them and stuff like that, this car popped up, and I fully expected to pay like 5 to 7 grand more than I paid for it. And I think we honestly hit a stroke of luck at the auctions, and it, yeah, really worked out.
Smooth torque from the 1J. Really light steering. Honestly, it feels like a little bit lighter steering in this than the Chaser. It's a little vague on center, but you know. Never stopped me from enjoying a turbo car before. Yeah, so does have a short shift kit on it, but the R154 is just not, you know, it still has a little bit of play once you're in gear here. Man, this thing rips. Catless 3-inch Catless 3-inch downpipe and exhaust into like a dual 2.5. And then obviously you can see in the rear end there this really cool custom exhaust right before it shoots out of a MagnaFlow muffler that kind of like wraps over each other. It's kind of cool. Awesome custom shift knob here. This is insane. We've got mahogany here and a flower in the shift knob, and this is what makes Jackson's car so unique, is the character. I mean, this is true JDM style. He's got his AFR gauge on the top right by the A-pillar, and it's just a basic 1JZ. It's nothing crazy here. By the sounds of it, it doesn't seem like he wants to go big single or do anything too gnarly with this. Just wants to keep it a reliable street car, something fun that he can slide around, and slide around we will, you guys. Stick around to the end of the video. We're gonna go hit up Josh's burn yard over in Richmond, and I can actually say the location for once because it's private property and we can do all the normal illegal shit that would be illegal on the street, but it's legal when we go to Josh's burn yard. So stay to the end of the video for that.
I'm not gonna go super crazy. I don't see myself going giant single turbo open wastegate dump. Honestly, I sort of see myself going either upgraded factory turbo with the upgraded internals from Spectrum, or just do like a small turbo upgrade, something that'll have, you know, better spool but also better top end. Turbo technologies have also come a long way since the turbo in this car was made. So just sort of like refreshing it to a more modern turbo. So this is my first Toyota. It's my first JZ engine. It's actually my first rear-wheel drive car. So the vehicle I have in addition to this, and the vehicle I had before this, is a Mitsubishi Legnum VR4. So it's like a all-wheel drive turbo manual wagon. And it's been a super fun autocross companion and like killer winter driver as well with all-wheel drive. And I just sort of wanted to experience a bit of the notoriety of sort of Toyota JZ rear-wheel drive cars. 4 doors goes with my sort of family status now. I'm about to have a kid, so it really fit in perfectly with the kind of lifestyle I'm living right now. When I said I got lucky, I'm not really joking. It came with Öhlins coilovers on it from Japan. So that was a huge bonus. I put in some Recaro SR3 confetti seats, I put in an AFR gauge. I put in an aluminum coil rad. I've done some roll center adjusters on the front. And then in the rear end, I've done the whole Serial 9 subframe and diff bushing treatment. So the stock ones are like these fluid-filled rubber bushings that just kind of crack and turn to bits. And so that's really transformed the rear end of the car for sure.
No, I feel like Jackson's got the right idea here. Over the past couple of years, as these models, as the Mark II, as the Chaser, have been increasing in value, I see more and more guys like this retaining more and more OEM parts, which, you know, is contrary to what you see a lot of the times in the drift world. You want the big body kit, you want all these things, but a lot of that stuff, if you take off a factory front bumper, rear bumper, etc., you might not ever, maybe will, but you might not ever get that OEM fitment and feel and precision back if you ever decide to go back to OEM. So that option potentially for you is just lost, which kind of sucks. So as the values go up, you know, Jackson appreciates JDM cars, and this isn't just here for him to thrash around on. And I just think that's really cool, and I can respect that, because hey, that just means that these cars, a lot of, especially this one in particular, will be around years from now for others to enjoy and to hopefully get others into the JDM culture as well, and Japanese cars, which I think is just cool. But either way, I mean, Jackson's doing it for himself. He's not doing it to, like, you know, protect the remaining Mark IIs. There's plenty of Mark IIs, it's fine. It's totally gonna be okay, you guys. But at the same time, as silly as it is, we do need to hashtag save the manuals. We absolutely do. And Jackson was actually telling me a story before we left about someone who swapped a manual R34 Skyline to an automatic. They didn't want to drive manual. This is literally today, that's the first time I've ever heard of anyone doing that. Have you guys ever heard of anyone taking an automatic Skyline or a manual Skyline and swapping it for a 4-speed automatic? No, you definitely haven't, because who the would want to do that? Oh, stuff like that makes me really angry. You just want to wake up, people. Wake up. It is what it is, though, you know. I mean, the car rides really smooth. The fact that this thing came with Olin suspension straight from Japan is a miracle. And yes, you get what you pay for. So the most expensive also, some of the most expensive kind of aftermarket dampers and suspension setups for Japanese cars like this, mainly made for the track. But the beauty of a high dollar suspension setup, like an Olin setup, is that they nail both sides of the spectrum. It's not just stiff for the sake of being stiff, right? Turbo flutter. I don't know, honestly, in like close to stock form, the 1J definitely sounds better than like an RB or RB25. I'll give you that, okay? As an RB25 owner, they just do. They sound phenomenal. They've got like a real meaty torque. You do not have to wind them out at all. I find like a factory RB20 or RB25 in close to factory form, you really do have to really wind them out a little bit more, whereas the 1J is all about that kick the rear end torque out, which is what so many of us love.
Yeah, this car does have a few little OEM bits that I guess are sometimes hard to come by now. The big thing with JZXs is buy an aftermarket body kit, paint the car, stance it out. I'm not going to do that. I have the OEM lip kit, side skirts, and rear lip. They're a little bit scuffed up, but nothing that's not beyond salvaging. And then the other thing that I really was very stoked on to come upon is this sunroof guard. It's like a polycarbonate sort of tinted visor, I guess, that came from factory, and they're pretty hard to find now. I get a lot of heat from guys in the JZX community. It's like a yay or nay kind of thing. Very polarizing, but I think it's pretty cool. You can like aim air into the back seat with it, which is pretty fun. So in terms of the interior, I actually reupholstered the lower bolsters on the SR3 Confettis. They were kind of falling apart. And then I made my own shift knob. I got married in 2019 and my wife saved her flower bouquet. And I dried one of the roses and made a nice like resin encased rose on top of African mahogany. And so I use that as my shift knob, and that's kind of a nice sentimental piece in the car for me.
All right, and just like that, we're in a different location. You see, sometimes you need to get off the public roads for certain things, and you guys have never actually seen this location on our channel before. You may have seen it on my Instagram, but last week, I got a message from Josh on a Friday night, and it was like, hey man, come down. We've got some cool, he didn't even tell me what the cars were that were coming down. He was just like, some cars are coming down right now. He was not kidding when he said there were some insane cars. We ended up shooting basically all night into sundown. Here it is, the man himself. How's it going, Josh?
Fucking blind right now, man.
Yeah, I was just telling the people about last Friday night's shenanigans.
Were you here when the cops came too?
The cops came later that night?
Okay, yeah, so that answers that. Yeah, no, the cops came, like four units. They were confused. The cops have been here before. I guess they didn't get the memo, so everything was cool. They just wanted some ID, company name, and then bon voyage.
Give us the figure 8 rundown of what your kind of, what your course is that you run.
I prefer coming in. I mean, if you're gonna enter from here, coming in, hitting crossways, flicking down towards that way, coming around, dragging your ass up along the pit,
Yep.
and then flicking back into here, and then getting yourself up along the wall for the nice run. And now we've patched a couple of holes, so one hole right there, you can get nice and close to the lift there.
Right.
And we patched up everything over by the pit, so you can get in nice and close to the pit wall too, which is cool. So
yeah, when I first came here and you were showing me around, the pavement was fairly rough.
no, there's some holes. There's definitely some holes, but
Yeah.
if the cars are parked over the bad ones and everything else is good, that's kind of a no zone anyways if you're hitting the right layout. We had Chris Keel took out a pole over here. I think it's that bent one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that might have been me too. I can't remember which one did that. I can't remember if he hit the same pole that I did.
All
but
the
yeah.
nights kind of blur together. Right?
Yeah, well, it's, yeah, you know how it goes. But also Grant went into this one here, which was the best, because he dragged the wall, pulled his tail over, then nosed it right into here. You can see a little bit of blue left. I Legoed it apart.
Is that why it's a
Got it
two-tone
Yeah,
bay
she's got
door?
an aftermarket Robbie on there. Pretty good.
Oh my god. And this is literally as someone who comes here to shoot, this is the death zone, also one of the best spots to get shots.
Yeah, I mean, if you're here, you gotta really fuck up to come in here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know there's a hole here, so you're trying to aim for over here. I've gotten a little too zealous and come up on this to the point where I was pretty surprised that I didn't drop a tire. I almost, like, I kind of was ready for the counter steer on it. It's pretty sketchy, but it's like, whatever.
Guys, mission's closed. This isn't our fault, you know? It's either here or on the street. Jackson, what are your first thoughts here?
It's small, it's tight. I'll spin in some circles.
El Grande. Just a few other gems I'll show you guys here. Nothing you haven't seen before. It's not why we're here, but we will be back, I'm sure.
I don't know, I could try a left and a right.
You could.
That's like, there's this way and there's that way.
Yeah.
And then we could switch them up. No flat Marcus today. It's nice to have a spot where I'm not gonna get pulled over for doing donuts.
We got Instagram famous Sandra over here.
Why does everyone say that? I have like...
Yeah, you actually have drift cars here though.
Yeah, I thought that this was this car for some reason drifting, but do I look like that DW meme right now?
I'm gonna try sliding around Jackson's car. He's been kind enough to allow me to get behind the wheel. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. I feel like I should try the Skyline now, baby.
Yeah, you should.
Josh, you want to give this a shot?
I mean, fuck, am I ever bad at automatic? I just went with it. I heard a guy one time say, just let the car do what it wants, and I always thought that was mental.
Until you met my car.
I guess, yeah, sometimes you gotta do it. Like literally one, maybe two. Yeah, so I'm gonna do a figure eight and I'll come back around this way and bring up on the wall.
All right, you guys, with rubber in my eyes and no tires left in the Skyline. It didn't break though, you know, it gives me confidence that one time we will have the manual swap in it and I'll come back and hopefully prove myself a little bit more. You know, I see the Instagram comments, I see the YouTube comments. Marcus, do you even drift, bro? Thanks, Josh, for having us out. We will be back here again, definitely in the future. More Friday night drift edits too. I'm so out of breath. Definitely more Friday night drift edits. I got so many messages on Instagram after I posted that quick edit, just coming out here on a whim on a Friday night. The atmosphere is just, it's ridiculous. So thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely go follow Jackson and Josh and everybody else here on Instagram. We'll see you soon.
Before you go, is when I out to a flame. In the darkness, I can see a light.